We're back again with the Board Game Spotlight, and today we're taking a look at World's End. This is a game by IGC Games. It is for 2 to 4 post-apocalyptic survivors, and it plays in about 30 minutes. So let's take it to the table and let's talk about it. So in World's End, you're going to have a map with various branching paths that are going to allow you to make it to the finish line. Now this is a race to the finish. 4 players are trying to survive various situations in this post-apocalyptic world. You're trying to make it out of town, and you want to be the sole survivor that makes it to the last helicopter ride out. And you're going to have to use wit and cunning in order to be the player that survives. So in the game, the Abyss Ghoul end of the game scenario card will be seeded into the situation deck, depending on how many players are playing. So in a 2, 3, 4 player game, it's different. But essentially, when this card is drawn, the game ends, and if no single player has made it to the finish, everyone loses. So it is a very tight, quick, frantic race to the finish. Each player is going to have 5 cards in their hand, and these are going to allow them to manage the resources. These are their resources in order to pass situations and to pass through creature spaces on the board. So what happens on your turn? You take the die, and you're going to roll it, and then you're going to move that number of spaces. So we'd move 1, 2. However, moving on a creature means that you have to get assisted by another player. Now, you ask the assistance of another player in order to defeat the creature. They can give you a weapon, or they can give you a medical card. If they do so, that player gets to move forward 2 spaces as well. So there is a reason to help other players. So if player 2 said, sure, I'll help you out, I'll give you a weapon card, we'll discard it, he'll move through and they will move too as well. Now after you finish your movement on the board, you're going to go ahead and you're going to go into the situation deck. Each player draws a situation at the end of their turn and you resolve it. So in this instance, the player would draw a card from the supply card depot. So they would draw a card and they'd get to add it to their hand of resources. Now, going around the table, there are a ton of various different situations that players will have to overcome. So the next player may be forced to discard a medical card from their hand because they came across this really nasty looking butcher. So the player could discard medical in order to pass that test, and they would not have to go backwards. If you cannot pass a situation test, you have to go back to the nearest medical. So if this player was unsuccessful in completing their situation, they would move back to the nearest medical facility. Again, same with all the other players. Now there are various branching different paths to the finish line. Players can choose which path that they want to take. It's up to them whenever they meet a crossroad. Now, if a player draws a situation card and they are unable to meet the requirement, so in this instance, this player would need a gun. If they have no weapons in their hand, they can play an assist card. If they play an assist card, they give it to another player. They're saying, hey, help me out. I need to pass this test. If in that case, the player could say, all right, fine. I'm going to go ahead. I'll help you pass that test, but I'm going to get a little bit of kickback from it. So here's your weapon. You're going to pass your situation. But now I've got an assist card I can play later. And so there is a lot of social negotiation. In a 4-player game, there is a ton of table talk. So definitely maximizes very well at higher player count. The end of the game is if the Abyss Ghoul card is drawn from the situation deck, or a player moves and completes the finish. In that case, this player would win, and all other players are left to be eaten by various nasty creatures and other really terrible events, like being robbed or bitten by mosquitoes or eaten by zombies, and just a bunch of different situation cards. You can find different supplies. There's a bunch of just really scary, horrifying creatures in this game that you'll come across, and you will need to pass tests in order to finish. This is the Gamer's Gateway lightweight version of this game. There is an advanced game mode where players will actually draft different items to use during the game. So players will have kind of asymmetric items that will allow them to be used against the thief. When a player tries to use the thief card, they get to look at a player's hand. They could steal medical or weapons, or they could steal and assist cards, all different types of situations with the thief. There are different items for moving faster or placing bombs to hinder your opponents. There are just a lot of other items that really bring up the gameplay as far as making it a little bit of a more advanced situation for players. So again, this has been World's End. It's on Kickstarter right now, so if this looks like something that is up your alley, take a look at the description below for the Kickstarter link. And this has been Derek with Board Game Spotlight. We'll catch you next time.